My name is Emily Dickinson. I've been dating him for a year. We finally got to have the wedding we dreamed of. Our friends congratulated us, and it was supposed to be the happiest reception ever. But toward the end of the reception, his drunk CO, Thomas, said something outrageous.
The groom is my pregnant daughter's lover. I don't approve of this wedding. Right, Mr. Groom?
It was a bombshell. Looking around the room, all the guests fell silent. My parents were stunned. The same went for his relatives, while only his CO was laughing loudly, clearly full of himself. Among them, his CO's daughter was giving him a passionate look, and her stomach was noticeably swollen. I didn't know her, so I thought she was just someone he knew. But finding out she was his lover, that was a huge shock. "Harold, what's going on?" I turned to him and spoke, but his face was pale. Sweat was beading on his forehead, and his lips were trembling. "Hey, what that guy said isn't true, right?"
Well.
His mind was probably blank. Even if he wanted to say something, no words seemed to come out. Now that I think about it, I had seen a woman who seemed like her a few times while on dates with him. The mistress must have been worried about him with me, watching from a distance. This is just too much. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I hung my head, speechless. I had met him through a friend's introduction. It was during a gathering where a bunch of us were drinking and having a good time. I had just gone through a breakup, and my friend thought it would be a good idea for me to start a new romance. But I wasn't ready to think about love, so I couldn't accept meeting him.
I know it's hard to enjoy anything right after a breakup, but times like these are exactly when you need a change of pace.
Saying that, he took me to the movies and invited me to an amusement park.
You don't have to have romantic feelings. Just hang out as friends. You know, having fun is what matters most, right?
He stayed by my side like that. He was so kind and seemed to understand my pain. As time passed, my wounds healed, and Harold gradually filled my empty heart. And before I knew it, my heart was full of him. Half a year later, I confessed my feelings to him. "I love you."
Finally, my feelings got through to you. I'm so happy.
That's how our relationship began. I found myself more and more attracted to his sincerity, and I fell deeper in love with him. It was on a summer night when he proposed to me. While watching the big fireworks bloom in the sky, he presented a ring.
Will you marry me? I want you by my side forever.
It was on our first anniversary of our first date. Am I the one for you?
Of course, it has to be you, Emily.
It was the perfect setting. A proposal every woman dreams of. I couldn't say anything but yes to someone who proposed so wonderfully. I'm so happy. I want to be with you forever too. When he came to my house to ask for my hand in marriage, he stood tall, looking my parents straight in the eye.
Please let me marry her.
My parents looked happy, but my mom asked why he chose me. He said without hesitation,
I love everything about Emily. Her smile, her kindness, her compassion. I can't thank you enough for raising such an amazing woman.
Looking back now, it was like he had memorized it straight out of a textbook. Preparing for the wedding was tough, but the thought of marrying him made me so happy that I convinced myself it was okay, even though he was too busy to come with me to choose the venue. My friend said it was strange that he wouldn't come along for a once-in-a-lifetime wedding. But I trusted him. Still, how could I have imagined that everything would fall apart like this? I could hear the murmurs of the crowd, and then I heard my friend's voice.
Emily, how sad.
At that moment, my usually calm father stood up and walked to the stage.
Emily,
Dad,
that's enough. It's over.
I'm sorry. My father took my hand and helped me up.
What is it? Are you trying to justify yourself? If you have an excuse, you should tell Thomas, your drunk CEO, instead, especially since you're in a relationship with his daughter.
My father glared at him, his face filled with rage. Then he spoke loudly.
Thomas, I'm canceling all the $10 million deal with your company.
What?
Thomas, who had been laughing loudly, suddenly froze.
President Dickinson, please don't. If you do that, my company will go bankrupt.
Shut up. That's not my problem.
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Please.
Harold knelt down on the spot to apologize, but my father's anger was far from subsiding.
You are no longer eligible to be my son-in-law. Consider this engagement canceled. I won't let a man like you marry my precious daughter.
Please, please, I'm begging you. Emily, please stop your father. I'm begging you.
Shut up. Don't address my daughter so casually. Emily, let's go.
Okay. My father took my hand, and our family left the venue, returning home in silence. But even after we got home, I was too shocked to say anything. My parents seemed equally lost for words. When I went to my room, I overheard my parents talking.
This is unbelievable. He was having an affair with the CEO's daughter.
Yeah, it really is.
That CEO knew Harold and his daughter were involved, so why did he push for Emily to marry him?
Who knows? Maybe he feared something like this would happen.
Something like this.
The $10 million deal being canceled. Without our business, that company is likely to collapse.
Yeah, you're probably right. So does that mean Harold was trying to marry Emily for that reason, too?
Who knows? Either way, I can't allow such dishonesty. I'm not going to let it end like this. He made Emily cry and made a fool of me. I'll never forgive him.
My father's voice was filled with more hatred than I had ever heard before. That night, I had no appetite, and I just cried endlessly in my bed. Then my phone rang, and it was Harold.
Emily, it's me, Harold. I'm really sorry about what happened. Are you okay?
Of course, I wasn't okay. This hurt way more than any breakup I'd ever experienced.
I'm truly sorry for what happened. I'll apologize as many times as it takes, even 100 times. So please, cheer up, okay?
Cheer up. Is that what he thinks this is about?
Come on, something like this isn't going to destroy your relationship, right?
Something like this.
Yeah, that's right. It was just something like this. It wasn't worth canceling the wedding over.
Why not? Your CEO said his daughter was your mistress, didn't he? Doesn't that mean you betrayed me?
No, that's not true. The CEO is just mistaken. I'd never betray you like that.
Then why did he say that?
He must have confused me with someone else.
Is that so? Then why didn't you deny it right away? You looked so panicked and pale.
Anyone would be shocked if something like that happened in the middle of a wedding.
His daughter was staring at you.
Let's stop this. Talking about it isn't going to change anything.
Is that right? I don't think so.
More importantly, if things continue like this, the company will go bankrupt. Isn't there a way to keep the $10 million deal going?
Why are you telling me this?
You're the only daughter of the Dickinson family, aren't you? If anyone can ask your dad, it's you.
It's impossible. Unless the doubts about you are cleared, my dad won't listen. And to me, the mistress issue is far bigger than the $10 million deal.
Don't be ridiculous. If the company goes under, I'll lose my job.
If it turns out the mistress issue is really a misunderstanding, and the company still goes bankrupt, you can join Dickinson Corporation. I'm an only child, so if you join Dickinson, you'll have a decent position.
I like my current company. I want to do the work I'm doing now. Sure, joining Dickinson might mean a promotion, but a man's job is more than that.
I see. But you know, I can't trust you. For your CEO to say something like that at the reception, it has to be something serious. It just doesn't make sense otherwise.
So you don't want to marry me?
Until recently, I wanted to be your wife. But I can marry someone I don't trust.
Why can't you understand?
Isn't the most important thing right now fixing our relationship? Yet all you're worried about is the $10 million deal. Hearing that doesn't make me feel loved at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking about your feelings, Emily. I got too caught up with work. I'm really sorry, but I really do love you, Emily. That's why I'm calling you now, isn't it?
If you truly loved me, wouldn't you have stopped me when I was leaving the venue? But you didn't even try. The first thing you said was to ask my dad to reconsider canceling the deal.
That's because of work.
I can understand why you'd prioritize work that much. Isn't being rejected for marriage more important?
Please, stop. You're the only one I love. There's no one else. That's why I proposed. And yet, I'm the one being doubted over something like this. Try to understand how I feel too.
Are you considering my feelings? You haven't thought about my feelings at all, but you're asking me to think about yours? That's impossible. At that moment, all my friends were pitying me. Do you have any idea how humiliating that was? You don't seem to care at all.
Let's stop this pointless argument. Besides, talking over the phone isn't helping us understand each other. Let's meet in person. If we talk in person, we'll be able to understand each other.
No, I don't want to see you for a while. I need some time to cool off. With that, I hung up the phone. But later, I thought about it and realized that running away without facing him wasn't the answer. However, the person I needed to meet wasn't him. The person I needed to talk to was his mistress. So I decided to hire a private investigator to look into him. I figured if they investigated him, they would find out who his mistress was and get her contact information. Sure enough, about 10 days after I made the request, I received a report. It contained a lot of information about the woman. Now that I had her contact details, I reached out to her right away. I asked her if we could meet. At first, she was hesitant, but eventually, she agreed. We arranged a day, and when I arrived at the appointed time, I found myself at her apartment. When she led me inside, the room was filled with baby supplies. I'm sorry for bothering you at your house.
No, I'm sorry you had to come all the way here. Since I'm pregnant, I can't really move around much.
Wow, you have so many baby supplies.
Yes.
Is the baby really Harold's child? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be sarcastic. I just want to know if it's true.
I understand. It's unfortunate, but yes, it's really his child.
I see. How long have you been together?
For over 2 years now.
So I came into the picture later.
Yes, that's correct.
Did you know about me?
No, I only found out he had a girlfriend about 6 months ago.
So he was two-timing us. Where did you meet him?
At one of my father's company gatherings. I don't work at my father's company, but he told me to show up every once in a while.
I see. If you're pregnant, why haven't you married him?
Because by the time I found out I was pregnant, he had already started dating you. I couldn't tell him I was pregnant.
Why not?
Because my father was happy about his relationship with you.
What do you mean?
You're the daughter of Dickinson Corporation. My father said that if you and Harold got married, a big contract would go through.
So, even after finding out you were pregnant, he still didn't want to marry you.
He said the company would go bankrupt without that deal with Dickinson Corporation. He had to marry you to keep the company alive. That's why he couldn't marry me.
Your parents wouldn't allow that, right?
My mom says it's sad for me, but my dad is the same as him. No, maybe even more focused on work. My dad said I could still have the child and raise it even if I stayed as the mistress. And since the $10 million deal would be lost, I was told to give up on him.
So you thought it was okay to just stay as the mistress?
I'm sorry. It was the only option I had.
That's so unfair to the baby.
Of course, I cried and said I didn't want that. I wanted to marry him, and the baby needs a father, but my dad wouldn't allow it. On the contrary, he even told him to keep me as his mistress and make sure to successfully marry Emily, no matter what. He said it was a big project.
How awful. So, in other words, Harold chose to marry me, not because of love, but because of the work-related benefits it would bring, just for the deal and to keep the company going?
I think so. Still, there was a time when he leaned towards marrying me despite everything. He even brought it up to my dad.
Then why didn't it happen?
My dad said that if he insisted on marrying me, he'd fire him.
That's terrible.
He said that if he wanted to continue seeing me, he should deceive you well enough.
If he went that far, then why did your father say what he did at the reception?
I don't know either. Maybe deep down, he really wanted us to get married. But he was thinking about the company and told me to stay as the mistress. Perhaps he lost control after drinking too much. It's all just speculation, though.
I see. So, what do you want to do from here?
What?
What do you want to do now?
Well, I'd like to somehow secure the $10 million deal. That's what my dad and he want.
I can't marry him anymore. Even so, are you still clinging to the contract?
I have no choice.
You have a child, so I think you should be the one to marry him. As we were talking, Harold entered the room. He hadn't expected to see me there, and his eyes went wide in shock.
Why is Emily here?
So this is what you meant when you said it was all a lie.
No, it's not like that.
Entering a woman's apartment, uninvited, is a clear indication of your relationship. I've heard everything from her.
Mary, you told her.
I'm sorry. I just couldn't lie anymore.
Unbelievable. Emily, I'm sorry. I truly regret everything. But I love you, Emily. I came here to end things with Mary.
And things? There's no need. I'm done being deceived. You should marry her.
What are you talking about? You're the only one for me, Emily.
You were only planning to marry me for the deal, weren't you? Even though she was pregnant, you wanted to marry me while still keeping her hidden.
That wasn't my intention.
It doesn't matter anymore. I know everything now. You probably wanted to marry Mary, right? So go ahead and be with her. Everything is clear now, and I don't need you to remember me anymore.
Wait, Emily.
Harold chased after me, but I closed the door and quickly left. When I returned home, a wave of anger washed over me. This was an anger unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. There was no way I could let this end just like that, so when my father came home, I told him everything that had happened.
So that's what it was. What a despicable man, using my daughter as a bargaining tool. I can't forgive Harold, and I can't forgive that CEO either.
Dad, I want to get revenge on those two.
I understand. Leave it to me. I'll make them regret it more than anything.
About a month later, I got a call from Harold. He sounded pretty desperate.
Emily, I need a favor.
A favor? What is it? I'll listen at least.
The truth is, the company is about to go under.
It hasn't gone bankrupt yet?
No, that's why I need your help.
What do you think I can do?
The $10 million deal with Dickinson Corporation. If that deal falls through, my company is finished. If that happens, the company will lose all its value.
And how does that concern me?
No, you don't get it. If the company goes under, a lot of employees will be out on the street.
So, it still has nothing to do with me.
No, Emily, you're the only one who can save my company.
I can't? I don't have that kind of power.
Please, talk to your father, the president of Dickinson Corporation.
Why should I? Do I owe you all that? And by the way, what's happening with your marriage to Mary? Make sure to invite me to the wedding. I'll come as the representative of the women you deceived.
I haven't married Mary yet.
Well, if you keep dragging your feet, she'll give birth before you know it.
The CEO keeps telling me I have to marry you no matter what. If I can't do that and the deal doesn't happen, he said he'll fire me.
That sounds tough. Then why not just marry her, even if it means getting fired?
That's why I need to secure the deal with Dickinson Corporation to get married.
That's not my responsibility.
You're the only one I can ask, Emily.
Talk to my father directly.
Of course I talked to him. I even apologized and begged for forgiveness. But it was no use. He wouldn't listen at all.
Well, that's understandable. After what happened, my dad was furious. This isn't something that can be forgiven just by asking. Why don't you bring your CO with you? You haven't tried that yet, right? Expecting you to handle it alone is wrong. After all, it was the CO who started this whole mess.
All right, I'll ask him. If I do that, will you at least listen to us?
You won't know until you try. Just thinking about it won't help.
Yeah.
That night, Harold showed up at our house with his CO. The CO, on his part, seemed to think this wasn't something that required his presence, and he couldn't hide his annoyed expression.
Please, I'm begging you. Can't we just put this behind us? Harold is a capable worker and a determined man. If you could move forward with the engagement and join hands with our company, we would be most grateful.
Do you really think that's possible? Even if I were to let my precious daughter marry a man who betrayed her, there'd be no benefit for us.
But if things stay as they are, our company will go bankrupt.
I can forgive what you all did. Whether you go bankrupt or not, that's none of my concern.
Please, save the employees. Don't help us. Help the innocent employees who know nothing of this.
I see. So you want me to save the employees?
Yes, if things stay like this, the employees will be left out in the cold. They've all worked hard for the company. We can't abandon them.
I understand. That is indeed unfortunate. Then I'll buy your company.
What?
And if I make it a subsidiary of our company, the employees will be saved, right?
But our company has grown rapidly, so we can't sell for just any price.
What are you talking about? You're practically bankrupt. There isn't a company out there that would buy you for a high price. Yet here I am, willing to buy it.
Okay, how about $30 million then?
Do you think I'm saying this without knowing anything? Your company's stock has plummeted. There's no way I'd buy it for $30 million. And let's not forget, this situation is of your own making.
That's true, but
restoring trust and breathing life back into the company is going to be tough. Even factoring in working capital, $1 million is about as much as it's worth. With that, you should be able to live out the rest of your life.
That's way too low.
Oh, then just let the company go bankrupt. I'm fine with that.
Okay. Please, $1 million it is.
Good. I'll have the contract drawn up tomorrow, so come by the office.
Yes.
All right, you can leave now.
The CEO slumped his shoulders and left the house, but Harold stayed behind, looking like he wanted to say something.
What is it?
Sir, you'll look after the employees, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Does that include me?
Are you an employee?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, I thought you held a position. Well, fine. You can stay with the company.
Thank you so much.
Harold bowed deeply, clearly overjoyed, but he had no idea this was part of my father's plan.
By the way, you do realize there's zero chance of you marrying Emily, right?
Yes, I'm just grateful to stay with the company.
Good. Then go ahead and marry that mistress of yours.
Yes, that's my plan.
Glad to hear it.
Thank you again for everything.
Well, I hope you find happiness.
Harold was happy, not understanding what my father truly meant. But as things settled in the company, his fate was decided.
What? What's going on here?
A shocked Harold went straight to the CEO, my dad, to confront him.
Sir, I was considered promising for the future. That's why I got promoted to assistant manager at such a young age. So why am I being demoted to a regular employee all of a sudden?
Listen, you had a fiancée, and yet you had a mistress. And on top of that, you got her pregnant. This has become quite the rumor in the company. It's only natural you'd face some consequences, don't you think?
But still, isn't this too much?
If you're not happy with this decision, you're free to quit anytime. Of course, if you resign, your severance pay will be significantly reduced, but that's your choice.
I understand.
Harold couldn't argue and had to accept it, but the rumors continued to spread. and every day he was met with cold stares from the female employees and laughter from the male employees, who thought he was a fool. Mentally exhausted, he requested a transfer himself. Even though his child was about to be born, his new assignment was to a freezing cold location.
Why are you going to a place like that?
I didn't think I'd be transferred to somewhere like that either.
That's because you requested a transfer. The baby's about to be born, and now this. You've got to be kidding me.
Come with me, please.
No way. You got demoted from assistant manager to a regular employee. That's bad enough, but now you're getting sent off to some freezing place. You're completely useless. I can't trust my life to a guy like that.
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm breaking up with you.
Why would you break up now? We're finally about to get married.
I only thought you were a good catch because you seemed promising for the future. But now, after the company got sold, this is what happened. In the end, you turned out to be useless. Go there by yourself.
This is ridiculous.
Harold, abandoned even by his mistress, went off to his transfer all alone. As for Thomas, he now lives with his family, but both his wife and daughter treat him coldly, and it seems he doesn't feel like he's really living. He tried to get close to the child that was born, but even his grandchild wouldn't give him the time of day. He regrets not simply allowing his daughter to marry honestly instead of hatching such a ridiculous plan, but it's too late now. As for Harold, he was working alone in the freezing location, finding the solitude unbearable. The life where he couldn't talk to anyone shredded the pride he once had, when he was considered promising. In the end, unable to endure that kind of life, he decided it'd be better to go back home and quit the company. However, what awaited him was the harsh reality of being unemployed with no income. Though he managed to find an apartment as soon as he resigned, word went out to various companies warning against hiring him, so no one would take him in. Especially companies in the same industry. They wouldn't hire him under any circumstances, and he had to live off day labor. He contacted me the other day, expressing regret for everything that happened. He said he wanted to start over from scratch, but his lazy approach, reaching out to an ex just because he was struggling, angered me, so I introduced him to a lovely woman. She's a very devoted friend of mine, the type to hold tight to a man once she decides he's her partner. But for a cheater like him, she's probably just right. As for me, I think I'll be keeping my distance from romance for a while. Having lost trust in men, I'm now focusing on my career,